Nobody can drive you mad, nobody can make you upset. You are liable for your own feelings. The conviction that you're in charge of your feelings is a strong confidence in emotionlessness and everything. Begins inside the psyche. Epictetus communicated it as follows: not things upset us. Be that as it may, our judgment about things, you can decide to see an occasion as disturbing, disappointing, unreasonable, or you can decide to see it as it genuinely is, a goal. Circumstance. Thus nobody can cause you to feel anything how you not entirely set in stone. By the assessment you decide to give what is happening subsequently, the present apathetic rule states you have control over your brain of external occasions. Understand this and you will find strength in vision, exploring life's harshest tempests with a quiet so profound nothing can upset it, isn't it? Enabling to imagine that your internal harmony doesn't need to be helpless before outside conditions. We will investigate 10 rules that guarantee to protective layer your soul against the turmoil of the rest of the world. How might you train your psyche to be unbothered by the promising and less promising times of life? Illustration 1. Embracing the emotionless safeguard of example 1, or embracing the unemotional shelf of objectivity. Objectivity. Have you at any point thought about how changing your viewpoint could really safeguard you from life's bedlam? The Stoics instruct us that the initial step to immunity starts with objectivity, implies checking out occasions, circumstances, and, surprisingly, individual cooperations. Without allowing feelings to cloud your judgment, could you at any point review a time when your feelings heightened a minor issue to a significant struggle? By review circumstances from a perspective of non-partisanship. I'm from Superfluous Show. The Stoics trusted that by unraveling ourselves from our intuitive, profound reactions, we could move toward existence with a lucidity that jam our inward harmony. When you're confronted with a test, do you quickly respond in light of how it makes you feel in vision, rather evaluating what is going on with a quiet and unprejudiced psyche? This apathetic practice includes asking yourself, what are current realities, and how might I address this legitimately? By zeroing in on normal reactions, you keep feelings from capturing your activities, which frequently prompts better results and less lament. How frequently do you wind up ruminating over things you can't change? The Stoics instruct us that while we may not control outside occasions, we can surely control how we answer them. This control starts with a cognizant choice to not allow aggravations to direct our feelings, rather divert your energy towards what you can change and acknowledge what you can to incorporate this apathetic standard into your everyday existence. Start by noticing your responses to minor disturbances like a sluggish web association or a postponed train, as opposed to permitting disappointments to construct. View these burdens as valuable chances to rehearse persistence and keep up with your serenity. Each time you succeed, you support your capacity to keep mentally collected in additional critical difficulties. Reflection is a vital part of unemotional practice. How frequently do you think about your day and assess your reactions to different circumstances and every day? By assessing occasions and your responses to them, recognize minutes when you might have answered all the more equitably. This practice upgrades mindfulness as well as sets you up to confront future difficulties with a more created outlook. Recollect that objectivity is your safeguard against the preliminaries of life. By rehearsing disengaged evaluation and dealing with your profound reactions, you construct a strong soul that no outside mayhem can break out. Will you execute this unemotional safeguard in your life beginning today? Draw in with us in the remarks beneath, sharing your encounters, opposing inquiries about the present example, bits of knowledge, advance our local area's comprehension, as well as likewise fortify your own excursion towards dominating apathetic power. Example 2. Illustration to A. The emotionless way to deal with taking care of contentions. The emotionless way to deal with taking care of contentions. How would you respond when trapped in a warmed conversation? Do you wind up blowing your top during contentions? Emotionlessness instructs us that the way to quietness and struggle lies in controlling our responses. It isn't outer conflicts that upset us, yet our own reactions to them When we discover ourselves feeling furious, it's a motion towards step back and survey our contemplations. By deciding to answer, as opposed to respond, we line up with unemotional standards, zeroing in on objectivity and excellence. This shift and approach can change possibly unstable circumstances into significant discourse. What sets off your attitude in a contention? Distinguishing these triggers is the most vital phase in figuring out how to deal with them. Apathetically, once you understand what sets off your displeasure, you can set yourself up intellectually to serenely confront these triggers. The Stoics encourage us to ponder potential conflicts in advance, envisioning how we can answer prudently. This readiness assists us with trying not to be cleared away by feeling when the second shows up. By anticipating the conceivable inner commotion, we enable ourselves to stay under control. Rehearsing stop and reflection. How could stopping improve your capacity to resist the urge to panic in contentions? When you feel your attitude rising, take a short stop. This fleeting break permits you to detach from the intensity of the contention and connect with your judicious psyche. Ask yourself, what might a shrewd individual do in this present circumstance? Considering this question assists you with picking reactions that add to harmony as opposed to sustained struggle. This training is fundamental in sticking to unemotional standards, focusing on agreement and understanding over winning a contention. How does compassion change your way to deal with contentions? Emotionlessness isn't tied in with smothering feelings, however, grasping them both in ourselves and in others. At the point when engaged with a contention, attempt to see what is going on from the other individual's viewpoint. This doesn't mean you have to concur with them, yet understanding their feelings and intentions can assist you with answering all the more insightfully. Sympathetic correspondence diminishes the probability of the contention raising and prompts more useful underwear. Trades the job of self-image in clashes. Which job does your inner self play in contentions? Frequently our craving to be correct comes from our inner self, not from a quest for truth. The Stoics train us to scrutinize our driving forces that emerge from self-image. For example, the need to rule or win a contention. By zeroing in on the reality of the situation as opposed to individual triumph, we can take part in conversations all the more valuably. Relinquishing self-image permits us to listen all the more straightforwardly and answer with trustworthiness. Adjusting our active to apathetic qualities. What day-to-day practices can assist you with overseeing clashes? All the more actually integrate practices that advance tolerance, like contemplation or careful breathing, into your everyday schedule. These practices help develop a quiet brain, which is better furnished to manage incitements. Also, routinely help yourself to remember the fleetingness of feelings and clashes by assimilating the possibility that this too will pass. You can face conflicts with a more adjusted viewpoint. How frequently do you consider settled clashes after a contention? It's some margin to contemplate the way things were dealt with and what you could further develop. This reflection isn't tied in with studying your presentation brutally, however, gaining from it. Consider what apathetic standards you applied well and where you could have vacillated. Persistent reflection upgrades your capacity to deal with future contentions more in accordance with emotionless lessons. By rehearsing the apathetic methods talked about today, stay under control and transform clashes into open doors for self-awareness and further developed connections. Example 3. The groundwork of apathetic. Illustration 3. The groundwork of indifferent self-control. Self-restraint. What might dominating self-control do for us? Keep up with quietness and viability in our regular routines. Do you battle with keeping up with consistency in your activities and contemplations, particularly when confronted with interruptions or enticements? Emotionlessness instructs that self-control is the bedrock of a righteous and serene life. It includes the capacity to control one's activities, motivations and feelings, to seek that everyone's benefit and line up with one's valid values. By rehearsing self-control, we not just oppose the draw of temporary wants, yet additionally reinforce our personality. This uprightness permits us to move toward every day with an engaged expectation guaranteeing that our choices and activities contribute decidedly to our objectives, and prosperity, how might everyday propensities shape our ability for self-restraint. The Stoics accept that little predictable activities structure the foundation of self-restraint. Start by putting forth little feasible objectives every day that require a piece of exertion and limitation. For example, getting up prior or devoting time to effectively concentrate on each time you finish these jobs. You support your self-control and gradually develop the fortitude to handle bigger difficulties. This gradual methodology supports your certainty as well as instills the propensity for self-restraint into your way of life. Which job does reflection play in improving self-restraint? Reflection is an essential part of indifferent practice. It includes consistently evaluating your ways of behaving and results, recognizing regions where discipline was missing and arranging remedial activities for the future. By thinking about your days, exercises and your decisions, you can pinpoint minutes where drive defeated reason. This mindfulness is basic for fostering the capacity to stop and pick activities that are in accordance with your apathetic qualities. How does self-control assist us with conquering impediments? The Stoics saw hindrances as boundaries to be defeated as well as any open doors to rehearse and reinforce self-restraint when confronted with a test, as opposed to giving into disappointment or rout. Utilize your restrained psyche to deliberately take care of through the issue. This approach turns each test into an instructor and each difficulty into